Oh my! And summer. Oh my God! Shout out to summer.
Summer is hot.
Yeah, the summer
Boy.
is hot.
So
My
you can't
God.
drink them time, man.
Yeah. Ooh.
Wow.
What do you guys think is happening with that? Well,
Yeah,
sorry, if
that's
you're gonna
what
answer
I'm
that question,
saying.
what do you guys think is
Jam
happening with
tea.
that? Yeah, because summer we've been waiting forever.
EDFL. We've been. I mean, we even got confirmation on why the thing never happened yet, and it was stated to be resolved, but the thing still not yet. So we're past. Actually, June just done. We're now past the timeline given for when the next things we're supposed to list by now, no? Or get the IPO
Well,
going by now.
The last timeline I think they said at the AGM was they're hoping for basically Q4 into next year.
Oh yes,
And that was maybe like
age.
2 months ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the AGM
So-
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how I view
For-
it is that it's just more time for me to look at other things because I'm
Okay,
seeing
yeah,
other
yeah.
things that are nice. So
Mhm.
then I just say, okay, well, as I said, you notice how I was able to tell that date because I'm still watching it. So I'm like, okay, well, you want to push it back? Okay, that's fine. And then sometimes, as in, even when I look back, I think the share price has fallen, quite a much since then.
Yeah,
So it's got cheaper since then. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever reason they give, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I know my timeline and when I want to go in and whatever. So
Who's the delay again
yeah,
when they going? Who's they going on and delay again?
I just have to sell. If I might just have to sell them. Say, well,
that's real.
Mhm.
Most people can't hear that from you. Yeah, man. You read us have to sell, go somewhere else.
yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
Nice.
do the go back for summer thing. I sold when I realized there were. I realized summer was not coming anytime soon. And then, of course, we're talking Jam Tea. The directors keep selling, and they're pushing
Yeah.
millions of units, sometimes straight out to the queue. No,
Yeah.
I'm happy for the people who get to buy it straight on the queue, but I know the effect of that, right? I understand the effect of a large amount of shareholders getting their demand filled constantly and consistently without anything behind that to push it out. No, you can do that. You can give a large amount of shareholders new units that they didn't have at a cheaper price. But then if you're going to get a price increase in the future, it's going to require something for people to be excited about to increase the price, right? And if those exciting things aren't happening, and then if in the middle of that you come with losses, which they have, because
Yeah.
QWI pulled them down and pull them down again and pull them down again. I was like, I don't need to be honest. If I wanted to waste money, there are other stocks out there I could. If I wanted to lose money, I don't like losing. I don't lose money. That's not my thing. Any losses have
Boy,
to
you
be
might have
made
to
back
explain that one
quick and
around
fast.
all over again.
Yeah, nah, to explain in crap like that. Well, I should, because you never know who's listening. I don't lose money. That's the explanation. So if I lose money, it means like if I lose 10% somewhere, if I invest it for 30% in a year, and I go in something and 2 months in I'm down 10%, and the reason I was expecting 30% is no longer happening. So it's not just the down. I don't make my moves based solely on share price. In fact, share price is one of the lower reasons why I make my move. But if I no longer expect what I was expecting, then why would I still be in the thing? I'm coming out. And then there's a consideration of the effect of losses, right? Like at 50% loss requires 100% profit just to get back to where you started.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to fight that battle. And then a 60% loss, I think, requires like 150 or something like that.
Yeah, it goes up
it's-
exponentially. So
It's painful. Like I don't want to have to fight that battle. So and in Jam T's case, the directors I think are oftentimes compensated via shares, which is
They are.
fine. But the losses that they were experiencing and the constant pushing back of summer, and nothing necessarily exciting happening for the company. Why sit around in that, and then why wait for the next tranche of shares to be pushed out to the market and suddenly you see your share price down? No, man,
Exactly.
I'm out. That
yeah.
I wouldn't willingly go in for the APO effect. So I'm gone. And
And they just
Well,
got paid,
I'll be
I think, yesterday or the day before. I remember seeing
4.2, I think.
4.8 million shares. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4.8 million shares in
Mm-hmm.
the share options that they have. And going back to that earlier point from Danai about uh, how things like how the research helps.
Mhm.
Did you know if you research enough, like their compensation schedule and policy, if you will, is they told that it was
Yeah.
put out there. You can see, so you can tell when they're going to get paid and how much they're going to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
You can estimate it. You can either estimate or work it out almost exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hidden in the documents that the company publishes publicly. you just have to read it, right?
Yeah.
You just have to read it. If you read it, like I say, if you read it too early and predict it too early, you might get a whole heap of flack, but you might not be wrong. So yeah, read it if you want to be at the Premier League level of the investing game. And if you don't want to do that, if that's not your life, you can do it at a lower level and still make as much money.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not more. I don't know about the more.
The more research also gives you more things to grab at, more opportunities within, say, a longer opportunity. So like you look over a year, and you can have do some level of research, and you can say, okay, based on this research, I can predict some movement over a year. But
Mhm.
you do more research, and you say, well, 3 months in, this will go on, So
Yeah.
yeah, so more points of profit become available, or more likely to become available the more research you do.
True.
Mhm.
So I know, even the Cygnus buyback, 10 days after, if it was the buyback, 10 days after, they have to tell you
They would
that they
have to
bought those
inform the
shares.
market.
That thing you just did,
There you
that
go.
thing you just did. If it was a buyback,
Yeah. Sorry.
that's a very powerful thing you just did, and most
That's the
people
difference
don't
between the
understand.
Premier League and Saturday Ball.
There. I
Yeah.
saw this. Everybody thinks it's that,
Mhm.
but it might not be. And I'm going to get some point of confirmation later.
Yeah.
But you know how it go.
Yeah.
Everybody decide that it's a buyback cars, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who bought?
We don't know for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
Who
the
bought?
difference,
Has
like the
Signal told
people
us to buy
just
it?
sending a message.
Has Signal told
People
us to
sending
buy?
a message in the group. No, they haven't published. I think
Oh.
they have.
Would they
Like
have to?
people who
Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
by July
Oh.
3rd.
Yeah.
Same
Like-
thing.
There you go. That
I think that's
is the
today.
difference between
yeah. Oh, wait, I put it in my
Ball-
calendar.
yeah. There we
Yo,
go.
if you ever
Yeah,
know
right.
how much work I did on, I remembered like with the Cygnus thing, how like all of these different timelines and stuff were said. So there's you had the anniversary date, you had at the AGM they said, I don't know what the basis was for it. I think they said the end of their financial year, which ends in June, and that's when they have to start purchasing the shares, which I didn't really get the basis for that. But then I had several little different timelines and stuff in my Google Calendar, like, buyback is this from looking back from I think even last year, I put it, they're supposed to say this, put out this dates and whatever, and then I guess people don't really realize that that's how much work. Like at the end of the day, same example where we're talking about, that's how much work I did for it, and versus someone say, is a good company and whatever, them just buy,
Buyback.
and I don't even
Go buy.
understand what.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then it just sounds like you talking about magic over there.
Yeah.
How
Magic.
did you know? And then the same
How
man
did
got
he
there
know?
said- And then a man got the same man do it's a good company, celebrating profit with you. And imagine they ask him. When his response is, it's a good company, that has nothing to do with why the price move. But
Yeah.
There we go.
that way shopped around. Yeah, man, good companies mean the price can go up when you buy them.
Yeah. I seen a tweet of mine the other night from I want to say this is from like 2018, where I was doing a thread. I was much more active on Twitter back then, and saying that there's like every company on the JC is a good company. I think that's exactly what it says. Because of that idea, that good company. I hate that idea. Good.
This is where it means
everything
nothing.
on the market is good,
Mm-hmm.
right? The good don't mean nothing. Good is a value judgment, and you determine what good is, right?
It's super
And the- and the-
subjective.
Subject.
And the people who go one step further, we just, what do you mean when you said good? That's the difference between the Premier League and just talking. That's the difference between
Always asking
hugging up
why.
losses. Yeah. So I'm always asking why, or what do you mean? Like, Brick Talk, you hear it. I do it to grow. I do it to grow a subscribers group. We'll go through things deeper, and it starts on that simple point. Like, you think it's a good company? I legit don't know if it's a good company. Not because I don't know the company. I know every company on the market.
Also, if it's good
I don't know
for
what you mean by good.
yeah, good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and and oftentimes when you press it, you realize you oftentimes don't know what you mean by good,
Mhm.
or you know, but the second you're asked, you start to give me a
You freeze.
you give me
You're
a, you
not
give me
so
a,
sure.
I'm
Then
on
again,
TV answer.
yeah.
Oh, strong balance
Strong
sheet.
balance sheet and the cash
Right,
flow,
right, right.
positive,
You know, it's
positive
funny
cash
that
flow
you
every
mentioned that,
quarter.
Randy. I don't know if you remember this back. Maybe this was like 2-3 years ago when you guys used to have the Every Mickle group. I had joined the group. Theon I did the course and whatever, the finance course, and I joined the group. And then when I was just getting into investing, one of the companies I was looking at was Creamy. And it's like I was buying it, but I didn't do that. I guess I didn't like understand the level of research I'm supposed to do, or really what I should have done, I'd say. And I remembered I was talking about Creamy in the group, and then you asked me the question. You were like, oh, like, why do you maybe ask me, like, why do you think there'd be an increase in the share price, or why do you think they'd earn extra money, or things like that? And at that time, I didn't even know how to answer that question, because I didn't know like what I'm supposed to do, what level of research, how can I comfortably say that? And just looking back now, literally before this call, I was reading on Creamy. And now it's looking back like, okay, I can now actively say, I can show a projection, I can say, oh, these are the points for why I will.
Anything recently? Anything recently?
It's so random that he's looking at it.
Is
You
it so
guys,
random?
I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so,
So
proud
random.
of how good you got at the market. Yeah, because why no? I understand why no. But finish your point, because I'm also proud because of what I know I wanted when I asked you that, which is what I want when I ask everybody that. And they often think, I don't know what they often think. So finish your point, and then I'll.
I mean, my point was really just, it's just looking back. I can now understand how I can go about making things like a price prediction, or just predicting a price. I have like a stronger basis for it. I can say, oh, in this report, in like the financial report, the article, this reason, I can look up estimates, I can do a lot more, and then that just ties in well into making that investment decision, And I think one of the things that I do, but like I didn't know I did, I guess, like people have pointed it out to me, and it annoys some people, but they're always like, yo, like I remember someone was teasing me once. They're like, oh, Preston's always asking why, like why, and that even applied to medicine. Yeah, it wasn't that they were really saying it was a bad thing. I guess they were just kind of teasing me or whatever. But I even think about that with medicine and like school and stuff like that. When I was in school, I'd like in our group, Theon and I, we were in like a study group. We would always ask why. So like we would do.
Sorry, there's a reason I'm laughing about that.
I know why you're laughing, but
we
would
do.
that, we used to do like a past paper group and stuff. So we would go through doing exams and stuff close to the exam. And one of the things that I really liked about our group that we fostered, there was the competition point, because we would be like kind of competing and stuff, like, yeah man, I'll try this, and like who can learn this and who can explain this better and whatever.
We used to teach each other.
We used to teach each other, which was good. But like there was the why. So we would do a question. Some groups, I would see them just, it was multiple choice, so A to D usually. They'd say, okay, what's the question? They'd Google the answer and be like, oh, it's A, and then say, it's A, and then just move on. That's not how our group was. We would always say, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean it's A? Why is it A? Why is it not B? Why is it not C? Why is it not D? And I feel like that pushed it, because at the end sometimes we would do a question. We would spend a lot of time on the question. Someone would just go through cursory glance, answer, 1 minute, 5 minutes, done. We would sometimes spend all 20 minutes, half an hour on a single question. But it wasn't just the point of, we know the answer to this question, because a lot of the times with the past papers, they wouldn't just repeat the same question. It's the concept that comes back, or
the principle.
So then sometimes in the research of, on this specific point, in doing the research, you learn about another point, and then that question could then come on the exam. So it was, the why is, I think, very, very important. Always asking why this. So, this company is going to go up.
Important.
Why?
Yeah. And I'm happy. So you made a point. I hope that you'd get why I ask those questions then.
Yeah, and
It is rare.
they're not easy to hear sometimes for people.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I do
the funny
understand
part is
people's.
I could have answered it back then, and the funny
You
part
get
is if
so
I had been
annoyed.
able to answer it, because I had bought it when I probably shouldn't have, because I actually had to take a loss on it, but it was me doing that research and realizing, yo, this isn't gonna get to me or get me where I want, and I had to sell. And I look back, imagine if I didn't sell. Funny enough, the price, I guess, what price is it at now? Like $5 or $4 or something. The price is probably about the same, and that was like 2-3 years ago. I could have just been, my money could have just been sitting there, versus what I've done and moved from other things and stuff and learned so much more.
The Randy was annoying, you know.
I could see that.
It's annoying. It's to grind my gears.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Wait, ask me a question. Just tell me we stuck in that.
Yeah, it's very hard because that's the thing. Like I remember sometimes we would, so we had our core group. Sometimes we would bring maybe other people or interact with other people, and our practice of asking why sometimes upset people. They'd be like, "Why are you asking me why?" They'd feel pressure,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is make sure that I pass this exam. Like it's not a this thing. It's not like specific to you. I'm literally just saying, "Yo, I want to learn. You're telling me this. Why?" Like you need, it's like you need to be able to support the answer. Otherwise, I'm not just gonna listen to you because you say
And take
this is
what
the
you say.
answer.
As face value. Yeah.
that is it's the process for that falls heavily within engineering and computing people. I would say math people, but most don't do it. But good math people, they understand. Like if you really, it becomes a matter of principle and process. It's really it's not the answer. As you hear teachers annoy you with it. Make sure you write out the thing there, and people they just learn how to write out the workings. In reality, there's so much other ways you can write the workings if you know exactly how this thing works. A big thing that I use, my father is my teacher, and he hates the term carry over because you can't carry one thing from one side of the equation to the next side of the equation. It's really if you add and subtract on either side for balance it out, but just knowing that most people have no concept of that. We're doing something, you just move it, you bring this on the left side and it means X, Y, Z, whatever. If you check like math people, if they say carry over, they don't really know it on a certain level. And that's like one of the earliest things they learn in math. And if you get to a certain level of math without knowing that, the amount of things that get ruined from that, just from our carry over on the next side of the equation.
Yeah.
And everybody know carry over.
I don't know though, Danai. I don't know if that's true when you say that it's common in computing and that. I think maybe just because you have such a better idea of
You're right.
math.
Come on. Yeah. And
That you can tell that it doesn't happen. I can tell you in those areas it's maybe just as spare, and I'm assuming from the doctors it's just as spare in terms of the people who actually do that. The following the why, I suspect it's across all industries. Some people just want to answer and move on. Other people just that's not enough. You have to tell me why, because I'm one of those people. And it's a personality thing. Like I don't care who you are, just telling me something and tell me so. That's actually why I was never good at math. Because I was taught math where 1 + 1 = 2.
Yep.
Why? And I wasn't taught math by somebody who could tell me why. And I don't accept anything just because you say so. Who are you? Worse if I ever see you make a mistake. Jesus. Like, I can't trust you if I can't trust your logic.
Agree.
If I trust your logic, I then trust you because it doesn't even matter if you're an expert in anything or not. I trust that in the situation, I know that you have the sense to work out what's better. So the why is an extremely important question to be able to answer. And going back to that question that Matthew said I asked, and you heard that I say I was annoying with it. I ask it because, as you hear Matthew say, if he could have answered that question then, he would have known whether or not it was a good investment for him. I'm not an advisor. And not because I don't want to be an advisor and pay the money. Danai does a great job as an advisor. But I don't take that on. However, when somebody's talking to me, I'm thinking, I go back to the lazy point. I'm thinking, what is the most efficient way to help this person with the most knowledge without taking up all of my time, or not being able, I'm not going to be able to carry you through an entire deep research session on the stock. But I can ask you the 3 questions or 4 questions. If you can answer those questions accurately, you will know the question that you really want to ask me.
Mhm.
You will know whether or not you should have the money in the thing. You'll know whether or not it's a good goal or if it's a good company or whatever, right? And oftentimes when people get asked a question, like the answer, it might be a hard question to hear, but I don't know how to play to people, so I just make it very, very plain. I say, listen, this is not a you thing. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not trying to show you up. I am asking you in a hard, straightforward way. Like, you come to me, you go, is Scotia a good stock? And my answer to you is not whether Scotia is a good stock, is how does Scotia make money? Or what is your goal? And then how is Scotia going to help you to get to your goal? Or if you're excited about a specific thing in a company and I ask you the why around it and you can't answer it and you think, boy, I'm trying to show me up. No. Get to the point of being able to answer those questions and you have your answer. And the funny thing I always say is, you think that I'm asking a question for you to give me an answer and then I tell you whether or not you're right. Many times I don't know if you're right. Like sometimes the question is, yo, the cream is going to go up? I don't know. I can't read the future.
Yeah.
The Madura rights issue? I don't know. I can't read the future. I don't work there. You know, the JFP going to make more money? I don't know. JFP going to make money? Is JFP going to make money off Total Office IPO? I don't know. Total Office going to IPO? I don't know. But I can ask and answer the questions around the thing in such a way that I will know. You'll know when you have a satisfactory answer. You know when you know the answer?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it don't matter what you say because I know that this is correct. Yeah, and that's the point I try to get people to. And I mean, I do it in a formal way with my subscriber group, with Grow, where I teach it. But also do it in an informal way in conversation. I just
I
ask
think
it
you just
and-
said too about when you know you have the right answer. I think a lot of people have a poor test of whether they know they have the right answer. There is a proving something is a big deal for a lot of people, especially in investments thing. Because when people will tell you straight up what them think something will do, or what's going to happen with something, or what's happening around this expense or whatever, on no basis more than them feel say, and they talk with the strongest confidence. You cannot question anyone. You can't ask them why this expense go up, and you cannot even imply say it wrong. You can know, you can have, you can read the right thing and thing there, and because him feel say, the person just never said, okay, I have to prove it to myself that this is real. Right? That's a big deal. I did another annoying Randy thing. Prove it. Or I have these feelings about this, or I think this is gonna happen. Prove it. Oh, this is what's happening. Prove it. And very often the proof is right there in the company report. You just order him about the question instead of checking it.
Yeah.
People talk
And
confidently.
people
and
get
what's good.
offended when you say that prove it point for real, right, Matthew?
They
Yeah.
do.
Like,
They
and
do.
it's really not coming. It's multi-layered, right? And I don't know if it stems from insecurities or so on, but when I tell somebody to prove it, it's not just prove it to me, but also prove it to yourself, because I can see that you may not know the answer. I can see there's a knowledge gap, and I want you to bridge the gap. It don't make sense me just tell you what the gap is, because you're not really
I'm
learning.
gonna play again next time.
Yeah, like this is how I teach too. This is how we used to teach, like him and those other subjects. And we, like, people would come to us with like answers to certain past paper questions, and we'd be like, why you think it's that? Where did you read that? Which parts of the book? Which chapter? Are you sure it comes under iron deficiency anemia or thalassemia or something? You know, so it's like, but we ask the hard questions, but it's not for us. It's really so that you can get to the answer. So
Exactly.
it's not an easy way. It's not an easy way of teaching, because not everyone is gonna take it well. However, I've found that it is the best method for people to store it in their long-term memory.
Yep.
So yeah.
When you know it, when you finally know it, you know. I can quote some things that I just did finally know, and it does not leave in my mind.
Yeah.
Like the whole IFRS 9 with X fund. And them recognizing whatever they have in XYZ. That was a big deal for us. But we had to go through and find out, say XYZ. Everybody was telling us X fund is the best thing in the world. And we're checking and reading reports, and we're like, but yeah.
What's the rest for that now?
MJE was a big early point on IFRS 9. when maybe early recognized, when they early adopted IFRS 9. What were they doing? Why did at them time that everybody was thinking, the name again, everybody had stocks, any shares they had or whatever, they recognize it how they want to recognize it as they please in the thing. What name again? What's that line name, Andy? The
Which one?
bottom,
I wasn't.
comprehensive income.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Oh.
How they
OCI,
change it
when
to net profit.
Yeah,
and maybe
yeah.
recognize these things early. Early
MJ,
adopt
restate it.
IFRS 9.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, why they doing that? But that was a very early dot for MJE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Theon, you said it, and I am not one for absolutes. So when I give what I think is an absolute, like, I'm not doing it lightly. And again, like when I say best, it don't mean best forever. If I say something is the best and you show me something better, that's now the best, right? So I think what it is that method of teaching, the Socratic method of teaching, where we're used to the authoritarian method of teaching.
So you go, take it and go. 1
+ 1 is 2. Why? Because I say, son, I'm the teacher. I know these things. That's crazy, because that means that you're never wrong. Because you can't be wrong with that method, because if you're ever wrong, that's it. I'm more Socratic, where even and especially when I know, I'm asking you, because when we all know it together and we truly know it, it's better. And there's a tad bit of selfishness in there, meaning I've always wanted to get everybody up to my level, because you can imagine how good I am when I'm competing against people that are as good as me, if not better. And what am I missing? I could be missing something that I don't know. That's maybe, this year, especially late last year, this year with my girl group, I've gotten a lot more of that out of it, where now, like when we're doing sessions and I'm pressing them on something and they press me back, and they make me question things about my own preconceptions, my own approaches sometimes. And I'm human, so there are things in there that I learn, right? Like I remember, shout out, I think it was the loafer who said, we're saying something about real estate, and they're talking about, and my general point is, real estate is like jewelry. Rich people have jewelry, and you can get rich selling jewelry and having jewelry, but you're probably not going to get wealthy off jewelry, but wealthy people have jewelry. And so you tend to make the mistake of thinking that, the jewelry is what gets you to wealth, but it's not, right? You got wealthy and then you bought the jewelry. Real estate is a lot like that. It's not that you can't get wealthy off real estate, but it's very difficult, and you're probably not going to. Yeah, but look at this billionaire and how much land he have. He became a billionaire and then he bought the land. Right? He didn't become a billionaire because of the land. He became a billionaire and then he bought land. Bill Gates have most farmland in America. Yeah, but it was Microsoft. And then he became a billionaire and he's like, well, I can't do another Microsoft. What can I buy? And then buy a lot of things and run out of things to buy. All right, let me start buying land. Nothing wrong with it, but it's jewelry. It's not the way to get to wealth, right? And in the same way, we're talking about real estate, and that's how I feel about it. Like, most people love real estate, we love the idea of real estate, but they don't really look at the reality of real estate and what it actually takes and what it does to you. And once I do, it shifted my view of the whole thing. And I've held that for a long time. And we're having a conversation again. And the question me like, well, how are you with the asset class? Because I'm always, Mr. Stocks. Stocks is the best, which it is. But other things exist for a reason. And it made me question myself. And I was like, wait, for the person with 100 grand, 200 grand, for the person with anything under, in my personal view, anything under 10 million, you probably shouldn't be trying to do this thing off real estate. If you run the math on doing that apartment complex, it's rough.
Yeah.
But if you have much, much more, and you can split a house deposit with a friend, and you don't plan to live in the house, you guys plan to Airbnb it out and then maybe sell it in 5 years. If the house deposit is 4 mil, and you have enough money through your other assets that allow you to peel off 2 million and do it, why not do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And in my mind, like, I still wouldn't do it, because I'm always like, real estate is not my thing. But why not? And what benefits can come from it? Because there are benefits, including to the stock market, that can come from real estate if you do it right.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would be missing all of those if I just keep my I'm not looking at it method. And nothing wrong with my keep. Well, nothing is wrong looking at my keep not looking at it method. There is something wrong with it where I would miss an opportunity to be better, right?
Tunnel
And so
vision.
I love that. I love that questioning thing because it makes me question myself also, and all of us get better as a result of it. Yeah, man. So the Socratic method is it is the best. I'll say it is the best method of teaching. There's this graphic that I'll share. I don't know if you guys will show it or not, but there's this graphic that I always think of with it.
You have it up right now?
I do have it up right now, actually.
Hey, you can probably share your screen. It'll show up on the.
Yeah, it's actually from a tweet, so I will show it. Yeah, so shout out to whoever this Twitter was.
Even think that, like in my sessions, like sometimes like people tell me like when people come with a thing there, like a thought around a stock, we actually go through it and if it's viable. Like sometimes I'm saying sell because I have in my head about like a better idea of what I'm more comfortable with doing for the money. And like sometimes we just like me and the client talking and then it becomes, oh, but I was looking at this other company. I already have it, I already bought it, and I expect this from it. And they give me a good case for that to happen. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool, we can go with that.
Yeah, man. The best teachers act as guides versus gods. Yeah, that's how I see it. And it is a strong way to do it because it leads to an understanding that I haven't had it beaten yet. I haven't seen anything to top it yet. It's extremely strong, and I don't see anybody who it can't help. Literally, like even if you hate it, like even if you're vexed, I also ask the question. Even if you're vexed, and you go home, and 3 months later you're thinking about it, and you actually answer the question, you get the knowledge same way, and hopefully you see why I asked.
Yeah. It's a lot of
it's
value.
Wonderful
in it.
to me.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, let's switch up the conversation a little bit because we've gone and touched a lot of different points. We've gone
investing for you.
Yeah. That's literally investing for you. Are there any tools or apps or resources that you guys find? Because we've been talking about being efficient. We use the word lazy, but really and truly we mean efficient. But are there any tools that you guys use to help enhance efficiency, improve productivity? Any apps, anything you guys use?
You guys gave me that. Habitica. I've known myself for being all over the place. I try to do too much things at once. I don't try zoning. I don't write things down enough. So when I was doing Habitica properly, I was on my game, man.
Okay.
Yeah, Habitica was great and still is great, but when I use it and I enjoy it and I still enjoy it. It's actually in one of my auto pop-ups. So when I open my browser, it's one of the tabs that does open still. But you have to set it up for your day, for your work, right? For what you're doing. And a lot of what I've been doing has shifted and I haven't set it back up, right?
Yeah, I need to recalibrate. I need to put my tasks the right way and whatever. And that's the point that I don't have a Habitica to help me to do that part.
Yeah, I understand.
That's actually a good question because you do. So one of the things that I've been using these days, I actually pay for it, is an app, a calendaring app called Motion. So use Motion that app. And how do I describe Motion? So it's a calendar app. I wish I could show it, but it has my actual calendar and stuff in there. But AI, magic word these days, but it's an AI that you tell your projects. So you have the little layout of the projects, meaning you tell what you have to do. So I'll use like an example of, I need to clean up the house and I'm going to do it one day at a time. So I have the project kitchen. I'm going to wash the dishes, clean the floors, clean out the fridge, and I'm going to fix up the living room, straighten the furniture, dust everything, vacuum, and, bathroom. I'm going to clean the toilet, blah, blah, blah. And you put that as your project. And then, when you put in a thing, you can estimate how much time you think it'll take or not. After that, it does everything else for you. And you tell it what hours you want to work during the day. And the AI, it suggests things for you. And if you miss something, if you when you're doing something, you're about to do something, you just tell it that you've started it. Or if you've done it, you tell it that you've done it. And once you've done it, it auto schedules your calendar. So if you miss something, it just auto schedules it for tomorrow at a time, and it tries to see if this time. If you want something at a specific time, you can try it. So like in the mornings, I want to meditate. So I have it telling me to meditate in the morning. Even if I don't do it, tomorrow morning it's going to tell me meditate. It's going to tell me exercise, right? And then if I have appointments, if I have meetings or whatever, you have stuff in your calendar, it works around that. So if you have a meeting now and this thing takes an hour and it doesn't have an hour, it might pop up and ask you, hey, you have a deadline of this on this, and you can't do it. Can we split this task into two? And if you say yes, then it puts 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. It's like a secretary that only cares about your calendar. It's so good that I paid for it. It works with your calendar too. Well, I think Cron is free, right?
Yeah, I've been using Cron since you gave it to me, and it's helped my life a lot because now I don't have to check during the day when the session is and within the. I just have a notification on my computer, right? So it knocks me and say, do you have 30 minutes too? And then right before the session, I get a meet at.
It's different.
Wait,
from Cron.
what is that? Sorry, what's Cron?
So Cron is a calendar. It feeds into other calendars. Feeds my Google Calendar feeds into it and whatever. So if I have something scheduled in my Google Calendar, it's has a layout here and whatever, and I can, when something is due, it just tells me right there. Okay, you're supposed to start this now. Or you have a meeting now, and it just pops up. Click it right into the video call.
Yeah, man. Cron is pretty great, but I haven't used Cron since
Motion.
Only because Cron at its core is a calendar. And Motion works around your calendar and also as a calendar view. So
all right, I'll try it out.
That's the only reason. But Cron, if you like how Cron looks, Motion doesn't replace Cron. You want to put your apps in Motion. Anywhere you look at your calendar, it's there. So when I'm looking at my Google Calendar, I see my Motion tasks in it. And if I schedule a meeting for a certain time, it automatically moves those tasks away from it and schedules them at a better time. And if you have a repeated task, and I have this in the morning, but it turns out, funny one, I almost always miss the meditation in the morning, right? I'd like to start my day perfect, like on Instagram, and meditate and then get going. But oftentimes what happens is I start my day with outing fires. And then almost like my day feels almost like two halves. And then for the second half of the day, I think, all right, you get a free moment. And I missed the meditation. Let me do it now. And I did that like a couple of days in a row. And it just started putting a meditation at that time. I realized it worked when I think I ended a meeting and I was doing an email, and I finished in the middle of writing the email. It popped up like meditation time in 5 minutes. And I was just thinking, I have a break. All right, how am I going to plan the last half of my? I literally just popped up then. And I look on the calendar and I realize it has moved the meditation down to the time where I often meditate. Wow. And you want to no, I want to meditate in the mornings, right? But also maybe you'd pay a therapist a lot of money, and the therapist would say, hey, why are you fighting what your body is showing you? Why not meet yourself where you are and then adjust? And that might be the therapy answer.
Set yourself up to win.
Motion's answer was just, hey, we noticed that you're much better at doing this thing at this time, so I move it to this time. Motion.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
I don't want to give them a shout out unless we're getting some money, but I mean, I don't care. It really is a good app. I want everybody to try it.
That's the thing.
Use Motion, that app.
Okay. I mean, there's a 7-day free trial, so I'm definitely gonna try it out and see. Nice.
If you set it up, you might be hooked. And it helps me. It helps me with
I'm gonna check it out.
Everything.
You still use rescue time?
Especially if you have disparate tasks, right? So if you have to be a doctor, handle medical stuff, and then maybe handle business stuff, and then maybe also my portfolio, and maybe personal stuff. It's great for that.
Okay.
You still use rescue time?
That's a mandatory thing, because even when I'm not paying attention to rescue time, I make sure it's running, because it's always tracking what I do. So whenever I go back and I review, it's there. So every device all the time.
I know we spoke about rescue time in our first episode with just me, Preston, and you. But you can just tell the people what rescue time is.
Rescue time, how do I think of rescue time? It's an app that tracks what I am doing. I have it on all of my devices, my computers, my laptops, my phone. So it tracks what I'm doing at any given time. And it has other features. So like I can choose to focus. I think when you hit the focus time, it will stop all your notifications everywhere, allow you some time to focus. But my how I use it mostly is it allows you to track time in order to hopefully be more efficient, to rescue time. And it does that by tracking everything, and then it gives you like a report at the end of the day, or however so often. Like for me, during the days, it actually pops up all the time. Like, hey, congrats, you've had 2 hours of productive time. Because you tell it what apps are productive. It picks up actually automatically what's productive versus a game or social media or whatever. And it's sometimes a little tricky. So like I would have social media time that is actually part of work, right? So you have to tell it that. Yeah, exactly. But it tells you how much time you spend on productivity. And then again, maybe it's a type A thing. If you tell me that yesterday I was at 7, let's try for 8 today.
Yeah.
I hit 9 today, right? And the only way I know to get even better at that is to have people to compete with it. If I could mix motion, rescue time, and Habitica, or if I could just get what I have set up in motion automatically put into Habitica, there's probably a plugin to that somewhere.
There's an API for Habitica,
It's a really
Well, if there's
good,
if there's an API, then we're good. Yeah, it's gonna be there.
it's a really good reward system, and that's what caught me, especially because it was doing it as a group, not just me. So there was some competition. Where
a good penalty system too. Remember the messages in the group say, "Yo, you killed me, bro."
Yeah. You feel like you're not just carrying yourself, like
You're carrying the group.
I screw up what I can't do.
Team let down.
Yeah. So for the people that don't understand like what we're laughing about, basically in Habitica, so we're all in a group. And yeah, I know the first rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club, but just for the people, just for the Limitless listeners. And basically what happens is you can set Habitica is really about, you have 3 different aspects. You have habits, you have dailies, which are things you can do every day or set it for whichever days, and specific times and whatnot, and you have tasks. And what we're laughing about was you can together, you have a character and so on, you level up, right? You can go to different levels, you get like equipment and so on. It sounds super nerdy, I know, right? Don't judge us. However, the reward system's pretty cool, and the penalties is pretty cool because we can fight bosses, right? It's like a video game. You can fight bosses, but collectively, you can't see each other's tasks and so on. But collectively, if some people are doing bad, it will damage us when we're fighting the boss. So you damage the boss by doing your tasks, doing dailies, stuff like that. If you miss out, if you're like Randy and miss out on meditation for the day,
miss out the meditation.
just know we're all getting punished for that, right? So yeah, I mean it's good because we'll check in sometimes. If you do like 10, 15, 20 damage, you're like, bro, what's going on?
What's going on? You're killing me. Like, are you okay?
You're all right.
Yep. You know what? The funny thing, I was thinking about that. This might be a personality thing. I do not cheat at that.
Yeah.
I remember someone asking me when I was telling them about Habitica, they were like, "Oh, why wouldn't you cheat?" But I'm like, that just defeats the purpose. Like, why?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah. What is there to gain from cheating?
Even just generally, I've never cheated at video games because I find it boring. It shouldn't be too easy. I've never found something too easy to be really fun. Like I just don't understand like somebody doing that. Like, and especially in something like this, like if you're cheating, that's I didn't do my
cheating yourself
for the week, and I'm kicking just my friends to say I'm like, you're still not doing it fast, bro. Yeah,
exactly.
That makes sense.
You know what's funny? That comes back in the market, and then I remember how I used to always talk about like especially when he was just starting out, meaning just learning about investment, he asked me questions and stuff. And every now and then this always happens. I don't know if you guys know, but in the local market, the people working in the finance space, they like to talk, like they love to talk to their friends and stuff about stuff, right? So like we're working on whatever, like most people talk about work. But the finance space, especially nowadays, is excited. Oh, I know about the IPO that's coming or whatever. They're excited about it, right? And I was pointing out to him that a lot of what I prefer and what I go for in my investing is around research, because I don't need anybody to tell me. Because not like, okay, if let's say Danai's company is gonna buy out Theon's company, and Theon's company is listed. And Danai tell me, and I run and buy some of Theon shares early. When the buyout happens and the share price fly up, I made a lot of money. That's great. You did make the money, you know. But let's say you and Danai fall out next week, and he no longer tells you things. You don't like your source of making money was not being able to figure it out and predict it on your own and making the bet. It was Danai, right? So I always push to that to me that's akin to cheating in a game, because what's the benefit? There's no real benefit. What you're just getting something there. When you do it on your own without, like when you actually get it. If I get up and do the meditation that day, in addition to it feeling better, knowing that I have actually accomplished the thing I meant to do. No, I didn't cheat to do it. I think that's a personality thing, because I always look out for that. I look out for the people who will cheat in something like that, because you're cheating yourself.
Exactly.
Like the whole reason you're doing this thing is because you want to meditate. So if every day you miss meditation, you're not getting the benefit of meditation, but you get I didn't kill Theon today. Right?
Like
I feel bad within myself.
Right. That's not the point of the group anyway.
And what I love about that, going back to Habitica, is it allows you to pause, because I don't want to hurt people, but I realize, I'm screwing up right now. So it allows me to pause. So I'm not going to hurt anybody else while I'm doing this. But I would rather pause than go in and do a fake thing.
So I never know the pause button. I still don't know where it is.
It's the tavern.
Yeah.
What hits me is this: when at a certain point, after 12 o'clock, it brings up the thing. You can't do anything unless you click off the thing. So you have to say, okay, I did this or I didn't do this. And I saw myself, like, I drink water and I have one more bottle of water for drink for the rest of the day. And this is me, 12 o'clock, chugging.
I thought that's the only person who was doing that.
No, bro.
Like, one more bottle.
I have one too, bro.
Habitica is probably responsible for like a 0.5% water intake increase for everybody who plays it, right?
Yes.
Because I'm like, I'm not clicking that I didn't do that. So let me chug it now.
Matthew do push-ups, and I was like, I've been saying I want to get back into exercise. Lose enough weight since COVID.
Yeah.
I say, I need to get back into it. And since then,
he does it the opposite way.
Oh yeah,
everybody else put on weight through COVID.
I lose weight for nothing.
Yeah. That's why I was.
Jeez.
So that was me there saying, boy, I start doing my push-ups now, and then 12 o'clock sometime I say, John, I can't do it now, but I'm not gonna.
It's funny if meditation was like exercise, like you could just do it. I don't know why I've never done that though. I think because meditation, like I'm not doing a 5-minute thing, Maybe the shortest I'll do is 10 or 15.
The 10 minutes is nice.
I can't do that before 10 minutes is a nice little start to it. It's annoying to me actually why I don't.
I'm starting meditating now since you guys showed me a good amount of. You probably should be doing.
I use it too
many times.
And Preston started a challenge, I believe. You did the meditation challenge in the group, no? You get gems.
Today.
Yeah, you get gems if you do.
Yeah. Mario won.
Nice.
Word. Hold up.
I haven't scheduled it yet, but they definitely should be a part of something I've been doing consistently. So,
well, on the meditation point, like, have you seen differences? Has it helped?
Oh,
I think so. I think so.
Even a little bit I've been doing so far, it's bringing me through, man. Trust me.
Yeah.
You know what it is for me? It's one of those fridge. I'll use the fridge example for some things. I do it, and when I do it, sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes I think maybe it's not helping. No, because I think maybe I'm more in tune. I can tell when it helps. But it's very easy to do it and think it's not helping. But you say the second you stop, you regress to non-meditation mind. You're like, oh, wow, this really makes a difference. Like,
Yes.
you feel a difference when you stop versus when you're doing it. It's easy to think when you're doing it that it don't really have an effect. It really does, yeah. I continue to be a terrible proponent of it because I tell people to do it. I don't do it as well myself, but it makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Weird way, yeah. Like everything else works better when you do it.
I barely meditate. Like I just tried it out. Now I know because of my morning routine, I can't fit it in. I wish I could, but I definitely can't fit meditation in. But it definitely clears you for the day. I do feel much more. That's the best word for it. Maybe oriented. Probably would be oriented and know like where I should like it starts my day, calms me down, and know exactly this is what I should be doing now. This is what I should be doing now. I don't know. It gives me some sort of direction for the day. That's how meditation helps me. Um, I wish I could fit it, but I'm trying to do that 30-day reading challenge where I read like 15 minutes. I think Preston started that one too. I'm on day 29 and I did not read this morning because I had to go work today. But like, if I miss this, it's a problem. So I'm definitely reading before I leave. Because I don't want to have to, when 12 o'clock reach, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. More while, when 12 o'clock, that's why I stopped the last time. And 12 o'clock reach, and it's 15 minutes to read. I was just like, yo, I'm going to bed. Like, sometimes you just have to take the L's.
Yeah.
You just have to
That's
take the
it.
L's.
Yeah. Well, hold on. How do you feel about the reading? What's the point of the reading? For the act of reading or the knowledge itself or what?
Wow. That's a good question. When I just started reading, it was just because Preston was reading every day. And he said it had a lot of benefits and so on. That's literally the only reason. And then I started reading and I realized when I used to do half an hour every single morning, I could read faster. Like documents in work, stuff like I was actually reading faster. And I realized it by timing myself because I know what 30 minutes feels like mentally because every time I read is 30 minutes. Every time I do my Pomodoro sessions is 30 minutes. And I realized I'm getting through more pages now in the same time frame. And then if I'm just scanning things at work, I'm reading faster. It just had a lot of benefits when I started out. So I just continued. And now I'm reading a fiction book. My first fiction book I've read in like a couple of years now. It's Mistborn
Really?
series, yeah. Brandon Sanderson.
Mistborn, bro.
Yeah, I just
Bro.
started Mistborn. Yeah, yeah.
Bro,
It's pretty sick.
I started book 2 last night.
How far
Wow,
are you? in it?
that's crazy. I just
I'm
started.
still not over book 1, bro.
I'm
Yo,
still on
Randy,
book 1.
that
I just
ending-
started.
So that ending of book 1 leaked me. I'm sorry, bro, but
Yeah.
it still have me.
I'm
Yo, Don't
excited.
get it started. It's like
I start book 2 and I can't move on it. I switch to another series because
okay.
did that. It was that good,
So-
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so welcome to the Nerdcast. Yo, shout out to Brandon Sanderson.
Mm.
Brandon Sanderson is a reader's author,
Yeah.
meaning he made like you.
It's a visual.
It's worth it. It's
Yeah.
worth it.
You
It's
read and
worth it.
you get sunk into the story and you see
Yo,
playing out. It's
This is such a good tangent because I asked because I wanted to say something else, but you can't right because the book I really know it. I'll say it after. But wow, so
Yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you, Dana. Finish what you're saying, and then I'll say my
no,
point.
no, it's great. Love the author. Love his books.
Yeah.
I read that book recently. We have some more Sanderson for you, bro. There's a whole
Wow.
other series that is going to blow your mind in a different way.
And then
What?
they're
Really?
all connected. They're
Oh,
all connected.
I think so. I was doing some research on it still because there's this
Yeah, all
YouTuber,
these- all these
Ali
series are
Abdal. Yeah.
Cosmere.
Oh yeah,
Cosmic-
that's the one he was
Same
talking
universe.
about. Wow.
The same
All right.
multiverse. It's beautiful.
The same Cosmere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give a word most people understand. Most people will recognize.
So, Dana, I don't know if you remember years ago, earnings season, we were talking about the Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. Yes.
Yeah, so we've
That book
said
got
this
me
on
a
an
lot.
earnings season episode years ago that like we don't most of our business knowledge doesn't really come from business
Business
books.
books.
Although there are cool business books out there, like shout out, Business Adventures. But and that's a book that people should probably look up, or Confusions is Confusions. But most of my I won't say knowledge, but a lot of the things that you see, a lot of the things that we reference comes from non-fiction. It comes from speculative fiction, that sort of thing. Yeah, like we talk all the time about our own
Sword of
research
Truth.
and that why it was the Sword of Truth, the wizard's first rule. People are stupid. They will believe a lie either because they want it to be true
Are they fair?
or are afraid it's true. I think about how often that has happened on the market. I think about the JMMB spike going at the last part of March last year. People wanted a notice to say what it didn't say, right? Or they're
Yeah.
afraid it's true. That happens all the time in the market, right?
People are
And that
still
came from
thinking as if it's a notice said that thing. Jamie never said they're doing a buyback. No, buy extra. They said they want to. And these are the things that need to happen. And
yeah, man, it's something else. So going back to that, when we spoke about that, I don't know if it was on the podcast or off that I said this part. We were talking about the time. Why am I forgetting the name of the title?
Wheel of Time.
The Wheel of Time series. Thanks. And that is written by Robert Jordan, who died while he was doing the series, and it was finished by Brandon Sanderson. And so that means literally homeboy died and this guy came in and finished it for him, and he finished it in maybe one of the greatest ways.
Yeah, man.
Meaning,
Oh, God.
meaning don't spoil it for me because I haven't finished it. I don't know about the finishing. Meaning, he didn't finish the story for him. He knew he was dying. He was sick, so he did notes. He had charted out the whole thing.
Gave it to his wife.
Gave it to his wife. So when he died, and his wife read something from Sanderson, Sanderson loved Robert Jordan. That's like a legendary series, and she was so touched by what she read, she contacted him to see if he'd be interested in finishing it. And so he that's like, imagine you love the Lord of the Rings and there's another one to come and the guy dies and his wife Link can say, hey, would you like to finish the Lord of the Rings? Can you imagine the story going to go how you want? Yeah, but well, not really how you want, because he wrote how the story should go, but Sanderson did it. No, off a light conversation, sorry, it's a long story, but off a light conversation, then I said, just mentioned how I mean, it's a lot of books. I think it's like 15 or so. No, it's more. I'm on book 12, and there's like, I think it's 14 books.
Probably.
Could be wrong. 14 or 15 books. So when I'm on like book 2 or 3, or book 1 or 2, and it's exciting to me, I was saying how excited I am by it. This is Robert Jordan years ago, and I'm reading it, and Danai says that, it starts to get a little long in the tooth. You can tell when he's sick and dying because it kind of starts to get a little boring. And then you can tell when Sanderson came in and it picked up. Right? That's all. He just said that because we were talking about Sanderson's other books, because Sanderson is a prolific writer and he's really good at what he does. And I've read some of his other books and they are great. I didn't read Mistborn yet. Anyway, so I said, let me slog through these things. And every night I'd read like a 1-page or a 2-page. I'm not in any app for it. I just love reading. So I do that and I fall asleep, right? And I get a chance. My dream is to be stuck in an elevator with my Kindle. Like, we can't get you out for like 5 hours. I'm like, okay. Right? That's my dream. Like, I love a good flight because you're stuck.
Can read. Is it the thing I do?
I can read. Yeah. So anyway, he said that, and so I was finishing the series I was reading at the time, which is another Sanderson series. And I came back and I was going through Wheel of Time, and it actually did get long in the tooth to the point where I paused and read.
Most people stop there. Oh,
yeah. I paused and read Mistborn, and I finished Mistborn.
Wow.
Not the series. I finished Mistborn book 1, and I'm like, wow. And then I thought to myself, and this goes back to the question I was asking you, Theon, about why you read. Because I'm like an OG nerd. Like, I've been reading I don't really have a memory of not being able to read. I was reading from, I think, maybe as 1 or
early
before 2. Yeah, very, very early. And so I've always been a snob, reading snob, meaning reading books. Is the like, don't tell me about audiobooks. Not knocking it, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, but at this point in my life, I'm so busy, and so I'm thinking, why are you denying yourself what might actually be better? Like, what is the point of reading it? Yes, some reading is pleasurable to me. The act of reading is pleasurable to me. But I remember when the Kindle came out, and I thought people are reading on the iPads, and I'm like, why wouldn't you get an iPad? And I don't read on an iPad, I don't read on a phone screen. But I remember when I never have no device to read, and I remember, well, it's enough years past, I remember going to my mother's office and printing out books on the office printer. Who finished the 500 pages in the double-sided printer all out and put in my school bag? Because by those early internet days when you find a PDF and you can finish a series, Harry Potter by Xerox, right? And I then remember when I got the Kindle, and I was like, I use this because the Kindle page looks like a real page. And now I'm never without my Kindle. I used to never be without a book. Now I'm never without my Kindle because I have hundreds of books on it. And say all that to say, thinking again, okay, you're struggling to go through this series where I'm not reading it as fast as I should, simply because it is a bit difficult to read. You can tell, like, I don't care about the internal politics of here. It's just not really the best writing in the series. And I really want to get to that point that I mentioned. I want to see if I can actually recognize where it switches over. I thought, why not try the audiobook? Just try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried it. I tried for a few things, and I'm thinking, yo, you've been denying yourself knowledge.
Really?
Yeah, because for me, reading is a different thing. But then I think, yo, there are things I do that I can share time by listening while I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to listen to the sound of. I can't work and listen to a book, but I can also
Do
wash
mundane
dishes as if I
tasks.
wash dishes.
Yeah.
Drive
There's
or
some things I
something
can
maybe.
do while listening to something else, right? And there's some things I actually enjoy a whole lot more while listening to
I
something
can't think in the
else.
same way at all. So when I read, it's a little focus I get when I read. When I hear the audiobook and I'm doing something else, the focus can't split like that for me.
True, but I think it depends on maybe the audiobook. And you're right. Everybody is different.
I listen to stories, or like somebody telling a story about there's some things how do I explain it? Say somebody talks about a book or like a movie. I can play. I can be doing a mundane task and have that playing. But a book where the actual story is being read, I can't do it. 'Cause I have to get that level of focus for it.
Yeah.
I get you. For me, I could say that it's not the same thing as a book for me. So I will reading the book, especially on the Kindle. If you buy the audiobook and you have the book, it syncs. So like the page I'm on in the Kindle, when I play it, it picks right up at it. That Jeff Bezos, like, you deserve the yacht.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like it picks right up there. And having that is not the same, but it's a good enough second. And I realize there are other things that maybe I wouldn't read because you only have so much time.
Yeah.
That I would read that, I would listen to that by audiobook. I'd get that by audiobook. I have no issue getting that by audiobook. Both fantasy and business things or whatever. Which is why I was asking you, Theon, why do you read? Is it the pleasure of reading or because I say that to your point, Danai, there were points, especially in Mistborn, where I turned off the audiobook and read it.
Yeah.
Like how they're reading it is not this bad. Like I need to read this, right? And also I read faster than they do the audio version.
Yes,
but
that too. When you're reading it, you're not looking at words. It does get in the thing. The story is going into your head. Even seeing it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
I know what
almost
you
like you're
mean.
scanning, and you're not necessarily reading individual words, but it's just like being downloaded in your head.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
If I can't
I'm
get
seeing
into that
what
zone,
happened.
I can't read for long. If I can't do that. If I feel like reading words, I'm not about that.
I understand that. Yeah.
So I say all that to say, check out audiobooks. It might be a cool way to get, or check out just maybe audio content. Meaning, like there are business books maybe that I wouldn't read, but I would listen to the audiobook of it if I can fit it in, right?
I would probably want to read news in audio format. Because I kind of hate reading news, to be honest. It's pretty boring for me. But I do it because I have to. But to read a whole news article sometimes, even if it's super long, I very often will push it back and say, all right, I give that little time by itself.
All news is boring for you? Like you read those all today articles? That man is using up his dictionary, boy. He's making it not boring. Like he should read news at 7. Like, it's dastardly act that was committed. Bro, what? Like, he's making it exciting, right?
Yeah.
Usually, the core thing is, as we know, is probably small. But I've chuckled at a couple of the recent stuff just because of how he writes.
It gives a little more color.
Alpha that. Yeah, a lot more color. Yeah. So consider audiobooks. That's one of the tips that I tell anybody. Yeah, consider it for content that you might not read. Yeah, so like, I'd love to have a self-help book, but I don't have a time for doing it.
I'm reading a self-help book.
Consider getting an audio book version of it, and who knows, maybe if it work, it work. If it don't work, it don't work. But yeah, that's something that I realized I was missing. It's just allowing me to absorb a whole lot more. And read the Sanderson. It is.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
And then I could tell when Sanderson came. It is, bro.
Like the story got to 5. And the point he picked it up, you're like, yeah, man. At the right time, please.
Yeah.
I'm
Imagine
excited.
your biggest fan. the biggest fan of a series is an author who just happens to be really, really good, and he gets asked to finish the series,
Yeah, bro.
and he does a good job. It's not crappy. It is.
Yeah, when you
satisfying.
finish, just message me same time. I want your reaction when you finish.
100%. Book one, definitely.
Yeah, I just finished literally last night. I finished the first book that he started, like the first book that he completed.
A little bit, yeah.
So like
Wow.
it just
How many books
coming
are in
out,
the
and
series?
I'm gonna say 14 or 15.
I think it's 14.
Oh,
Let me check.
wow.
I'm excited. Yeah.
And he comes in at
I'm a heavy reader, so I'll do
he
it.
comes in at I think he comes in at book 12 or
No, man, before that, man.
12.
The slug. They call it, the fan base calls it the slug. Because people that sit down and say, boy.
Yeah, it's he went a little too much into world building at that point. No man, book 12, The Gathering Storm. That's where
14,
that's the first
14,
one that he. There's 14 of them, and he comes in at book 12
Ah, yes, you are right.
and finishes book 12, and you can tell because book 11 was rough, but
Mm-hmm.
book 12, book 10 and 11 were rough. Book 12 is like wow, like Sanderson is the first person that has written action that I'm reading, and I'm like, this is like an
Like a
action movie, and like action.
Yeah, it's not just, okay, this man shoot this man. It's, yo, him shoot on him, slide on him, go behind the wall.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean, yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the thing
things
is,
make
I used to
sense.
read a long time ago. I think it's medicine that threw me off because, you know, medicine
I
is
was that.
all reading. It's
My
literally.
girlfriend's a heavy reader, and
Yeah.
I have a close friend that also was a heavy reader. And they both, my girlfriend just getting back to reading like how she used to. She's as much a reader as me, probably in some ways more. And my brother, him still can't get back. And say, oh, the medicine thing just mash him, man.
Yeah,
Like,
bro,
he
it
just
definitely
couldn't-
mashed me up. It definitely, because in high school and so I used to read. I remember I got the Harry Potter series. Big up my friend Daniela. She lent me the entire series, right? And I
friend that-
binged it. I could not put down the book. I'm going out to eat and I have the book with me. It's serious, you know, like serious.
You want to hear something funny?
my whole family are super readers. So probably that's why I started reading so early. The same as Randy, me and my brother. And I also had a brother that was older than me. So him probably, we were really close. So he'd be interested in reading a certain way. So you'd say like, all four of us would be sitting down thing there and just reading. My little brother don't read at all. But I don't know how he miss it. But we all sit down and just read. So for all my life, that's been me. And I used to think that being class. So with the book up, I used to read Percy Jackson. My brother lent me the book.
Oh,
Percy
yes.
Jackson,
Oh,
yes.
yes. I used to love that. Love
In the
that.
class. I sit in the class with my notebook and thing there.
In front of it,
In
yeah.
my car going home, this is me. I was change them. Like no,
That's me too.
Yeah,
That's me
Preston
too.
lent me the whole Percy Jackson series too. Yeah.
a good
Oh,
author
that's
is
good.
great. Like trust
Yeah.
me, like the fact that you can tell Percy's aging through the series. You can tell.
Yeah.
Like, when I read it, I'm like, he reads a 12-year-old
Growth.
kid. I mean,
Yeah.
he's 15.
Yeah.
that's
I used to
I
love.
never read
You guys
Percy
used to
Jackson.
read Goosebumps. I used to
Yes,
love
yeah.
Goosebumps.
I used to read
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Goosebumps. There's a lot of the volumes. My mother used to just buy
Yeah, I
them.
used to have
You
tons
guys
of them,
want a book?
yo.
You need Blighton, Goosebumps, just buy them. I wasn't a Hardy
Oh,
Boys
nice.
fan.
Yeah, I wasn't
I
really
mean,
that big on Hardy Boys.
My brother
I don't know if
started,
that's
but
a
he never
fan.
read that
It's
far.
just it's what you
Something
read.
to
It's
read.
what's
He does
there.
another thing. Yeah, man. I know exactly.
Yeah,
what you mean.
I read everything.
I've read books
Or
I don't
Sherlock
really like.
Holmes.
I wasn't Sherlock either. I've
Sherlock
read a lot of
Holmes.
books I don't
Love
really like.
Sherlock
Because
Holmes
I
was
need to read
nice.
something.
Some of those.
But those
ones
were
are
like the
really
classics. Like that's when I was younger too. I'm happy about that. Like back then, the kids, so I'd read anything, and I read
Mm-hmm.
anything I could get my hands on at the time. You had more time.
Mhm.
You never even know that you have the time.
Yes,
Funny enough, it's blasphemy. I've never finished Harry Potter.
you should.
Yeah. Like as in,
Wow.
The book.
I
or the
also
movie?
don't watch the movies
Oh,
because I have not finished the book series, and I like don't like you want to piss me off. Spoil a book. Don't spoil books for me. Don't like. I'm like no spoilers when it comes to movies, but do not
I'm
spoil a
terrible at
book
spoilers
for me.
because I'll look for them. I will
Oh,
be
no, not
reading
do
a
that.
book and I'll be wondering what's meant to happen, what's the thing is, and it will eat me up. And then I'll be
Really?
I'll be googling. I read a whole week and I spoil a lot of the week of time for myself.
That's psychotic.
You spoil it for yourself.
For a lot of
Then I-
myself, but I couldn't. I just need the information.
Oh
To
my
the point
God.
now,
What?
I'm for the most part numb to spoil. It's actually Randy that got me back to yo. Just don't spoil the book for yourself. Remember,
Yeah, because
he and a friend at the time
Sometimes-
were talking. Me and the person on the same spoiling thing, and he's like, "Yo, you guys should." So no, I hold myself back. I just say, "All right, I'm just not thinking it. Just read the stories." I think that's a big deal for me. I mean, I know it's a big deal for stories. I think it's a big part of the market for me as well. How much stories are in the market? I go like just to know start to finish how something went. That's big. That's big for me. So yeah, Randy tells me about things that happened way before I even look at investing, and show me how it connects to things now. It's a
Yeah. Yes, and there are stories in the market. That's another thing I want. Also, I'd love for that for bit. That will be a
good
part of a
podcast. You said it one time. It'd be a great podcast.
great podcast, and a good part of a maturing market is the ability to tell what happened.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be the person telling it, but I want the story to be told. I don't mean on the business news. I mean like tell the actual story, right?
Mhm.
Like when you hear Icon, when you hear him talking about corporate rating and like how they think about what they do. When you hear Buffett talk about his
Corporate
how
rating.
he came up, like corporate rating, which he did a lot of back in the day, right? Like those things, you get a lot from it, and you understand a lot more about what really drives the market. So then when you see the parallels, like there are exciting things have happened in the market, Like we think like, oh, the market's getting there now. I was saying to Danai a couple of months ago that like there was a time when there was a buyout, a takeover offer for Salada,
Mhm.
and I think it was a company called Three Beers, which came from the Ideal group of companies that they're doing, they're solidifying their place in it, and a competing buyout offer came from Mayberry. So imagine that
Yes.
there's a buyout in the market.
Mhm.
And another party comes and say, like you say, hey, we're buying the shares at $25. And along comes another party that say, hey, we'll buy the shares at $30. That's an exciting thing. I mean, I'm sure there's a whole heap of friction behind the scenes or whatever about it.
Think of all the.
I don't care.
It's why we made Mayberry. They're actually doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Think of how cagey people get around that. Think of what if that happened today, what Twitter would be saying. Of how, boy, I can't believe. Why would they? Well, you know why they would. It's like, yo, 25 is a steal, but 30 is a steal too. Give me it.
Just bidding or
Right.
I love that. I love that. And I see the power from the stories being known.
Mhm.
How there are other people who never thought to do it until somebody said. To me, it seems normal, but I've learned that a lot of people don't necessarily see it the same way, and a lot of people have to see something in order to realize it's possible.
Yeah.
It has to get normalized, and the stories have to be told. So, yeah, it's a wonderful thing. The stories in the market, and I'd love more stories in the market. I'd love what do you call it? A structured podcast. I'd love a scripted podcast around the market. I would love, if I had the time, if I was rich as I wanted to be, the time that I wanted, I would do a scripted podcast around market events, around company events, around company stories, like almost documentary. Like
You'd get me to listen to a podcast consistently at that point.
Oh yeah, but I'd also make it exciting. Yeah, I wouldn't make it boring. It
I know,
wouldn't be
man.
boring at all.
But you know me and podcasts, right? So
Yeah, he doesn't listen to them. Does one, but doesn't listen to them. But that's right. There are people who play football and don't watch football.
That's true.
Yeah, and there are people who watch football and don't play football. Yeah. Anyway, we've been talking for like what, 2.5? I don't know if you guys want to wrap it, or you want to talk about the market. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
this will be like an earning season episode, man.
Yeah.